Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Garrett Smith, the nutrition detective around these here YouTube parts, and we are back for another Love Your Liver live stream. This is number 128 without a single one missed. Gosh, I must be healthy to get in like more than 2 years in a row of live streams without ever missing one, right? So for those of you who are new here, we're doing a Q&A today. The Q&A happens in the live chat. So if you want to go into the live chat, if you're watching this later, the live chat is where we do it. And then for those of you who really want your question answered today, the super chats are enabled. Super chats mean you give a little donation to the channel, and then those questions get prioritized. So now for those of you who really like me answering questions for you and you want to get questions answered on all sorts of topics, that's inside the Love Your Liver program, the Nutrition Detective Network. That is at members.nutritiondetective.com. And then inside there's the inner circle, which is $50 a month. And you get to ask as many questions of me as you want in a private forum where I can answer them in greater detail and in more controversial ways than I would be answering them here on YouTube. So that is always available. Then one thing I wanted to do today, so I made my one of the things we use, which I'm starting to believe is kind of like the anti-vitamin A in a way, is nicotinic acid. I say it very carefully because we only use one thing. That is nicotinic acid, crystalline, immediate release, no extended release, no sustained release, no pharmaceutical nicotinic acid, no NADH, no nicotinamide riboside, no nothing other than what is called nicotinic acid or flush niacin. So I wanted to basically drink, I did a higher dose than I usually do. Now, just so you guys know, Kelsey Kenny graciously stuck with me and educated me on the propaganda about nicotinic acid. And hopefully she'll be in the chat today if she's not already there. Let me get I can't see my chat right now. There we go. And she brought all this to my attention, and we've had wonderful things happening for people when they do it. Now, for those of you who tend to be overzealous and do too much, or you like to dive into the deep end and then wonder why you drown. Okay, we have about a 7 or 8 article, it may even be more than that now, on nicotinic acid in the Love Your Liver program. Talking about low-dose nicotinic acid. Talking about high-dose nicotinic acid. And how and when to do both of them. I am on high dose because I have gone up slowly, and I have addressed buffering, which we talk about in the program. I have addressed fiber, which we talk about in the program. I have addressed the big minerals, which we talk about in the program, selenium and molybdenum and zinc. I've addressed my electrolytes, my magnesium and my potassium, and obviously sodium. We address all of these things before anybody's going high dose. If you're going high dose, if you're in the program or you're outside the program and you're going high dose nicotinic acid, there could be some slight issues over time. Nicotinic acid is acidic. It is acidic, and your body does have a pH control that it needs to maintain. So I'm not an acid alkaline diet person. That is garbage. But pH is real. So if you mess with your pH too strongly by taking grams of nicotinic acid, you might throw things off a bit. So we talk about that. Kelsey is the only one who has addressed this issue by teaching us all how to buffer the nicotinic acid. And that's in the articles at the program. This is not stuff that I'm going to put out on the general internet because Murphy's Law says people are going to take good information and do something wrong with it. So if you want this information, you can make the jump and come into the Love Your Liver program. Seems pretty simple. And I too like to have a roof over my head and food on my table, so I don't give everything away for free. Sorry if you think I should, but that's not how the world works. That's not a good energy exchange either. So Let me blow my nose. Oh, I see a super chat. Okay, so for those of you who didn't hear me earlier, super chats go to the front of the line. I'm going to get to that super chat in just 1 second. Just want to blow my nose real quick. Oh, okay. Let's get to it. Here we go. In regards to so this is from Gabriel. Thank you very much, Gabriel. In regards to the timeline of detox, when you finally hit 0 retinol in the serum, could you give a ballpark estimate of how much time one has to go? Strict, no cheating, and actively mineral balancing, lean individual. Well, let me go over mineral balancing, because if we are talking about Dr. Lawrence Wilson's idea of nutritional balancing or mineral balancing, I think I have had to save people's lives from that nonsense. Quick story. I had a woman come to me and she's like, I've been doing this mineral balancing with like the direct person under him for 3 years. She said she had only gotten worse and worse and worse in that time. And they kept telling her, it's just detox, it's just retracing, just keep going forward and eat more vegetables. The woman told me she almost lost her marriage over it because she was basically losing her mind and becoming terribly angry and terribly irritable. And it was a disaster. And I've heard this before. Here's a key thing to know about detox and retracing. Detox issues usually happen when people push too hard, or they take things that their body tells them they don't feel good on and they keep taking them anyway. There's usually a reason for harsh detox cycles. Either somebody's doing something wrong to begin with, or they're pushing things too hard, or they're not listening to their body and they're not backing off and they just think they're going to push through it. Pushing through it is something that maybe can work. You have no idea how long that's going to take. So why ruin your quality of life for months or even years thinking that you're detoxing, when if you could just back off or stop things, you could get your quality of life back and then go slower. This is a marathon, not a sprint. So I don't just, unless somebody is working with me, I do not, or me or Nathan, I do not assume that if you say you're mineral balancing, that you're okay. You could be doing things terribly wrong. And that this is not the place for me to troubleshoot that. When people work with me in the testing and consultation packages, they get access to the office hours, which is mine and Nathan's weekly small group Zoom meeting where we do troubleshooting of all of this stuff. If somebody's getting along with the supplement, we can talk about going up. If somebody's not getting along with it, we talk about troubleshooting it. If somebody is pushing detox too hard, we talk about calming things down. If somebody's retracing, which is a very real thing, we go over, does the pattern fit retracing? Because there's a very distinct pattern to retracing. Just because somebody has an old symptom come back and that stays and it gets worse and worse and worse, that's not retracing. Retracing comes and goes. It comes for no good reason other than the body is healing and building up energy, and then it starts throwing off this old layer of toxic bile that was the cause of that problem in the past. And then that layer of toxic bile gets out of them, and then they feel better. Now, Gabriel, if you're an active client of ours, and I'm just not remembering your name, then yeah, we're probably doing something, we're doing something working on it. But in terms of a timeline, okay, I believe I know Grant sent me an email once based on a person's liver biopsy when I believe the person had died and they did. I mean, I have a whole thread on Twitter about liver biopsies. That's the gold standard of vitamin A toxicity. If people aren't doing anybody else, if they are not doing a liver biopsy, you don't know how much you have stored. So this would be like saying, okay, if I spend $100 a month for the rest of my life, when will my checking account empty? And the first question anybody with half a brain says is, well, how much money's in the account? That's kind of critical information. And the sad thing about all of this is I don't want you to go get a liver biopsy. I think the risks of that way outweigh any benefit. And even still, if people are doing the wrong things, some of the sickest people who have, well, I've talked about this before, but some of the sickest people have lower levels of vitamin A in the blood, and they have tons stuck in their liver, because if you're zinc deficient, it gets stuck in your liver, it doesn't come out. If you're protein deficient, it gets stuck in your liver and doesn't come out. Like, there's all sorts of things where you can be not making bile very well, and these things are getting stuck in your liver, and so it doesn't show up in the blood, but it's building up in the liver. Let me give you a quick example. I had a guy from Germany. He was very, very, very sick. And he came to me, and his first vitamin A level was 25, which, if you know the ranges for vitamin A, like 20 is generally the start of the deficiency level. And so you might be like, well, he shouldn't have a lot of issues with vitamin A toxicity. He's got low blood vitamin A. Well, I've been over before here many times about how that's just plain garbage, and it says so in the research. Now, this gentleman started doing my program, and he took another vitamin A test, a blood vitamin A test, serum retinol, at the 3-month mark of doing it. His blood retinol had jumped up to 52. It had doubled. Then 3 months later, his blood, and he's on a low vitamin A diet. He's doing my stuff. 3 months later, his vitamin A his serum retinol has jumped to 125. One of the highest levels I have ever seen. Was it from vitamin A in his diet? No, obviously not. It was coming out of his liver. So just because somebody tells me that they have low vitamin A in their blood, that doesn't mean somebody's low. It may mean they have tons of vitamin A in their liver and it's not coming out. So if they're not doing the right things, you could cause this. So I know you'd love a timeline. I would love to be able to give it to you. Grant and I, there's actually a video on this channel. Joe, if you want to try to find it, the timeline of vitamin A detox. So that video is where Grant and I have a conversation about what we've seen in terms of vitamin A detox. Now, Grant's approach, his personal approach. Now, he really just tells people what he did in his free ebooks. So his website is ggeneru.blog. Now, he just did, beef or bison and white or brown rice and black beans. And he eats that, 3 times a day. He kind of makes a soup out of it. It sounds, he jokes about it being like prison food. And, it kind of is. And imagine if that was the only way to detox vitamin A, how many people would not do it? How many people won't do the all muscle meat carnivore because they're like, just please, just shoot me. If I'm only going to eat red meat for the rest of my life, just shoot me. I'm not going to do it. And I don't think an all muscle meat carnivore diet is optimal. I think if somebody did an all muscle meat carnivore diet and they at least added, so there's the link Joe put up, if they at least added some soluble fiber or some activated charcoal so they could poop out more bile instead of just recycling all of it, that would be a 100% improvement on an all muscle meat carnivore diet with no fiber at all. Okay. So what Grant and I talked about was like 2 or 3 years. Okay. 2 or 3 years was what we thought people could really start to get their vitamin A levels down. Now, when I work with people doing testing and consultation, I specifically tell them that we do a serum retinol. Does someone's serum retinol, their blood vitamin A, change anything about my approach? No. I can get somebody better without ever measuring their blood vitamin A. I don't need it at all. But we get to watch it over time. We get a baseline, and then we get to see what happens to it over time. In the research, they specifically said they were kind of confused because the majority of times, people's vitamin A doesn't change much. I call it the plateau phase for years. Years. It doesn't change. Like it's very steady. I mean, there's going to be little changes. There's going to be like, you know, like ripples on a lake kind of thing, but it doesn't change a lot. That's the way it is for the most people until they're going along and then finally their liver starts to really empty out and then it drops very quickly. So do we know when that's going to happen? No. Some people, as Grant and I talk about, I've changed the information, I think, a little bit from this video based on what I've seen over time, because I've seen a lot, you know, I measure serum retinol more than just about anybody else. When people are going, so at the start, you know, we got serum retinol, people go on a low vitamin A diet. What can the vitamin A level do? It could stay steady for years until it finally starts dropping. If people start going down, the common rate of decrease is about 10% drops every 6 to 12 months. Okay, or you could say 5% to 10% drops every 6 months. You know, so that would take in the 10% every 6 months or 10% every 12 months. So somewhere in there. But I also tell people, I don't care about your vitamin A level, it could even go up a little bit. Because like I told you, let's say somebody was not eating enough protein and they start eating more protein, or they were not eating enough zinc and they start eating more zinc. We start freeing up the vitamin A out of their liver because they start making more retinol binding protein and the liver starts trying to detox vitamin A more. We can actually see their serum retinol go up a little bit at start. Or at any time if they were messing something up and then they fixed it. So we could see it go any of three directions. But what is our guiding feedback? We watch their overall symptoms. So we have, when people come to me, what do we use to assess their issues and potentially guide them better? We look at their symptoms, because symptoms tell us where the deficiencies and toxicities most likely are, even if they're hidden in the liver, like copper toxicity and vitamin A toxicity. So we look for their symptoms. Then we look at their labs. That's like the map saying, you are here, you want to be here. Just like on Google Maps, though, you know how Google Maps will give you multiple routes to get there? So each person's route to get there might be very different. I might have somebody to fix their zinc deficiency that needs 30 milligrams of zinc, 60 milligrams of zinc. Maybe they even go higher than that for a while, which I don't suggest doing unless you have testing going on. But they might need a lot of zinc to get there. Then I had one woman, she completely corrected her zinc deficiency with 5 milligrams a day. But the only way she would have known was we look at symptoms and we look at the labs. And she actually told me that when she went over 5 milligrams, she didn't feel good. So for those of you who maybe have followed internet health gurus in the past, like I just saw somebody today on Twitter say, I heard that everybody should take 50 milligrams of zinc a day. And I was like, yeah, no. I have people who don't even tolerate 1 drop of my liquid zinc. 2 milligrams a day. They don't tolerate it. Does that mean that the zinc is bad? Or then let's say they have a zinc deficiency. Maybe they just don't get along with that type of zinc. Maybe they're too toxic and you give them zinc and they start dumping tons of copper and vitamin A out of their liver, and then they feel bad because now they have those things increased in the blood. We don't know. What do we have? We have live feedback. The person says, I take this, doc, it hurts when I do this. Well, then don't do that. You're not ready for that yet. You go in the gym and you try a new exercise and you find something hurts and you go, well, I'm not going to do that exercise again. Well, that's smart. Why do people not do this with supplements? If you're out there taking a supplement, this is the biggest horse crap thing in alternative medicine or even pharmaceutical medicine. You take something and you've taken it long enough to be like, this thing makes me feel bad. And yet your practitioner, your alternative practitioner, your conventional practitioner, or whatever says, oh, you'll be fine. Just keep taking it. It will go away. It never does. I don't know where these practitioners observed a pattern of continuing to take something that makes someone feel bad. And then all of a sudden, oh, I feel amazing. I'm so glad I took that thing that made me feel bad for 2 months straight until finally I got better. No, that is not how it works. Those of you out there in the chat or in the comments later, please feel free to back this up where you worked with a practitioner and they just said, you're just detoxing. You'll get over it. It'll get better. Just keep taking it until it gets better. And then usually what happens, you end up quitting that practitioner because they're basically gaslighting you. Sadly, this is what they do. I just morally and ethically, even when I was early on in practice, I would tell people, like, they'd be like, I don't feel good when I take this, because I used to use things that weren't very good and I didn't understand these concepts back in my earlier days. And I would just say, okay, well then don't take it. Like, how could I sit there and look at somebody who's suffering from what I gave them and tell them to keep taking it? Why am I rare out in this world of telling people you don't have to do things that make you feel bad? Now, can feeling bad be part of the detox process? Yes, as you start to learn what toxic bile does in your system, you start to recognize when you dump the toxic bile and what it does to you. You see the patterns. And then you can start going, what made this happen? Because we have lists of agitators in the Love Your Liver program, and people will tell you in the Love Your Liver program, did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? Did you look for this? Are you taking this? And they'll help. This is for the people who do the do-it-yourself. The Love Your Liver program is a do-it-yourself program, folks. It is not for those who want to be spoon-fed. It is not for those who don't like to read. It is not for those of you who if you just want the magic pill, or if your family members just want the magic pill, just tell me what to do. Sound common? The Love Your Liver program and my work is not for you, because I need people who listen to their bodies, adjust based on that, give feedback, and honestly, for those who work with me, who will come to the office hours for troubleshooting and not try to do it on their own, because there's no need for them to do it on their own, because we've already addressed most of these issues in the past and they become very obvious. And as people do the office hours and they hear me troubleshoot, they start to see the distinct patterns over and over and over again. And they could pretty much probably be listening and go, oh yeah, I know what this person's doing. Those of you out there who understand this, feel free to comment about it. You've seen it. Okay, so now here's my nicotinic acid. There are some, I buffered with magnesium carbonate. That's my favorite buffer. What else is in here? Oh, I got sun fiber in here. I may have a secret zinc that Kelsey sent me. So there's about half of it down. So if you start to see me, so I wanted to do this live so people could see the flush. It'll probably start coming on in about 5 minutes. You may see me get a little red. I'll tell you what I'm feeling, if I'm feeling a little itchy, other stuff like that. We talk about the flush a lot in the program. And, I added some potassium citrate to it, some non-GMO potassium citrate, because I wanted a little extra potassium. Yeah. So anyway, let's get into the next question. So let me just make sure I answered all this. Ballpark estimate. The ballpark estimate is 2 to 3 years. However, when you do things right, symptoms can go down very, very quickly. So this is the big thing. I don't care where your blood vitamin A is if you are improving. If you are improving, if you're eating a low vitamin A diet and your symptoms are getting better, yet let's say you're plateaued on the vitamin A and your vitamin A stays very stable. Where is the vitamin A in your blood coming from? Where is the only source it can be coming from if it's not coming from your diet? The only place that vitamin A can be coming from is your liver or your body fat. So Your symptoms are getting better, which means most likely your overall stores of vitamin A are going down. And they are what, as those are coming out of you, they are what is maintaining your blood level of vitamin A. So the very evidence that you're on a low vitamin A diet, I'm starting to feel the little heat tingles in my neck. So the evidence of that is there because you're not eating vitamin A. Where's it coming from? It's coming out of your liver. The evidence that your vitamin A overall toxicity is going down is evidenced in your symptoms decreasing. So we have to go by, this is one of the problems in both conventional medicine and alternative medicines. They just don't watch. They want symptoms to go down right away. That's cheap. That's usually they're using toxins to do that. Herbs, pharmaceutical medicines, orthomolecular medicine, using super high dose stuff to force the body to do things. And they can get quick. Oh, geez, I can see my face starting to redden up. They can get quick results like that. But what they're doing is they're shutting down the bile production. Or they're changing the bile recipe. I go over this for multiple health conditions in past episodes of the live stream. So oh, wow, I'm definitely starting to get warm. So for those of you who have had the flush before, your first one is the worst. Yeah, I'm starting to get pink. I can see it in the camera. First one's the worst. And after a while, when you realize it's not an allergic reaction, it's actually an accelerated detox reaction, in my opinion. And I go over that in the articles. So you start to actually like it. Once you know it's not bad for you and you realize you feel better once it's over, like you feel better than you did before, then it's not scary anymore. But yeah, I took about double my normal dose today because I know I'm fine with it. And I wanted to show you guys the flush. So let me see. Okay. So let's get to the next question. But yeah, 2 to 3 years is generally the time that you're going to need to expect on a really strict low vitamin A diet to get it down. So there's Will with his gentle, funny trolling. $2 from Will. What is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow? I do not know. I would not know how to figure that out. I would like to see a laden swallow, actually, so I could figure it out. Put a backpack on the swallow or weight it down like a messenger pigeon or something. So laden versus unladen, right? But thank you, Will. Thank you for that. Okay. Eric Crone asks, added nicotinic acid 100 milligrams, bad gas and bloating. Can nicotinic acid affect gut microbiome? Eric, if you have not read about buffering in those articles, I would highly suggest you go start buffering. If somebody has digestive issues from the nicotinic acid, it is like... Oh, what happened? Where'd my camera go? There it is. Okay. Can nicotinic acid affect the gut microbiome? Of course it can. But it is acidic, and obviously acids are important in our whole gut thing. So I would go and look up the buffer. You're fermentative. Can it make you overacidic? It is nicotinic acid. Yes. So if you're fermentative, if you haven't done any of the okay. I would only say you're fermentative if you've read those probiotic articles and tested the lactobacillus and seen if you have positive responses to that. Because sometimes, as I talk about in those articles, somebody could assume they're fermentative or putrefactive, and they try probiotics for the one they think they are, and they don't respond well to it. And then they try the other one, and they do respond well to it. This is why, folks, when people only do questionnaires, like for health, they can get it wrong. They like somebody may fit the whole pattern of questions, but then they try the thing and they don't feel good. And then they try the other thing that shouldn't be right for them and it feels good. So you just got to know that, like, it's not, there are trends and tendencies, but you don't know how things really are until you test it. But yeah, Eric, actually, if I think you're in the Love Your Liver program. I think I remembered your name. I've seen it around. So see, I'm itching now. This is the flush. Like I'm getting a little bit itchy. No big deal. My 12-year-old boy who's super sensitive, he did it. He was fine. Super sensitive. My boy's like, he did it. You can do it. Don't be a wuss. Don't be afraid of the flush. When I first did it, the flush, I didn't know about the benefits to it. And I was reading, Kelsey says I'm late. What did I miss? We've just been talking about, I'm doing the flush live, Kelsey. So if you see the pinkness, I started drinking it. I'm not even done with my drink. But I was just talking about how, so one of the things, Kelsey, graciously, actually, Eric, you have UC, ulcerative colitis. What you want to do is, even though, so folks, normally we don't require or highly recommend, I should say, we don't highly recommend people should buffer until they're at 150 milligrams to 200 milligrams and above. Okay. But if you want to know how to buffer, that's all in the program. Then, so Eric, you may want to do that. The next thing I would do for you would be to buffer it. Now, Kelsey, actually, there is research out there on nicotinic acid enemas. And we just published, Kelsey wrote an article on it, and we just published that in the Love Your Liver program. What was it, yesterday or the day before? I don't remember. So you can actually apply nicotinic acid directly. And if you go and you look at the pictures of the colonoscopies pre and post nicotinic acid enema, drastic. I mean, it goes from like ugly to pink and shiny and smooth. So yeah, Eric, I would definitely go read those articles, definitely buffer, and definitely read the nicotinic acid enema article. Yeah. And then if you're doing the lactobacillus and it's helping for the fermentative stuff, that's great. If you can try, if you want to try the sun fiber, see if you can feed that, feed those little beasts better. That's what that's amazing at. You would also want to take, if you're taking soluble fiber or soluble fiber foods, taking them with the nicotinic acid helps. Stimulates the, as Kelsey keeps talking about, the GPR 109A pathway, or, she knows more about that than I do. Kelsey knows, she's the expert. Actually, Kelsey, if you want to post your Telegram group on nicotinic acid, maybe Joe can put it up. So here, let me take another sip of this. You do want to make sure you get plenty of water with your nicotinic acid. I am in discussions with my supplement manufacturer about making some capsules of my own. So that will be fun. I use the powder just because as you get up into higher doses, the pills become a pain in the butt. Kind of like potassium pills. Potassium pills are like 99 milligrams, and just taking so many of them is just a joke. So you might as well get the powder. Okay, so let me pull up okay, I see another one. There's Ramon. So Ramon, thank you very much, Ramon. Good to see you back. What would be a Dr. Smith approved ground beef / burger seasoning? Salt. If you want the basics, like the fully good or 50-50 salt, which we talk about in the program. So those are what I've used. Actually, here's an interesting thing about the nicotinic acid. For those of you who have cravings or desires for unhealthy foods, unhealthy things like alcohol, other unhealthy things, you're doing the program, but you're just like, I just can't get past this. Like, I'm stuck on chocolate. I'm stuck on coffee. I'm stuck on alcohol. I'm stuck on, for me, it was mustard. Obviously. And I used to say, even here, I was like, I'm going to keep eating my mustard because I like mustard, and it's my one major kind of vice. And I only had it like once a week, maybe twice a week. So I was like, this is not that big a deal. And I still would say it's not that big a deal. But as I started doing the nicotinic acid, and as Kelsey has noted with people, And as I noted in myself, at some point, it's a funny story. I come out, my boy and I made hamburger patties to eat. And he sees me come out to the living room to eat, and I've got no mustard on my hamburger patties. And he looks at them and he goes, "Dad, what's wrong?" And I'm like, I knew what he was talking about. I was like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "You didn't put mustard on your hamburgers. Like, why didn't you do that?" He's like, "You love mustard." I said, I just don't want it anymore. It doesn't sound that good to me. So I just stopped using it. But it was something in doing the nicotinic acid. So we talk about here, like poisons beget poisons. So as somebody takes in more toxins, and as they become more toxic, they want more toxic things. As we can get people less toxic, and let's just say the nicotinic acid does that, as you become less toxic, you want less toxins, because I believe your senses, your brain's working better, your senses are working better, more like getting reset towards how they're supposed to work. And then you taste the poison. And just like a child, they want white things, right? Children almost implicitly know they don't want garlic, they don't want onions, they don't want cauliflower and broccoli, and they don't want sulfur. They don't want brightly colored foods because intuitively they know they're poison. We train ourselves as adults to be like, alcohol, coffee, brightly colored foods. We train ourselves into eating it because we're told it's good for us, or we want the high from it. And we ignore our body's taste signals, smell signals, all of this, and we just keep putting it in. And humans adapt. We adapt to the toxic taste. And we start to tell ourselves that I can deal with this. And then eventually we tell ourselves, I like this. Could you imagine? Like whiskey. Whiskey has never tasted good to anybody. But as a status thing, people will convince themselves that they like it. Or they just want the buzz. You know why whiskey's extra bad in terms of alcohols, in terms of compared to even clear alcohols? You want to know what makes whiskey brownish in color? It's polyphenols. Polyphenols slow your detox pathways, especially ALDH, deplete B1. So like the people who really like whiskey, they really like whiskey, don't they? No one ever said that things that aren't toxic aren't addictive. The more toxic things are, the more addictive they become. It's just the way it is. People can do whatever they want. I'm just here to educate them to the realities of it. So basically, salt or 50-50 salt would be, if you wanted the best and most approved hamburger, ground beef, steak seasoning, it's salt. Oh, and then Kelsey put up her Twitter handle. So now the only other seasoning, I have this weird feeling that rosemary may have more benefits than negatives. Just a theory of mine. It's like a gut feeling of mine. So if you wanted to do that, that might be another one. Just think we're trying to, here's the thing you got to think about, like when we're talking about mustard, right? Mustard seed, as an example. We can go through mustard because I knew it wasn't good for me. I know all the reasons mustard wasn't good for me. But I still liked it. So mustard seed, cruciferous vegetable full of sulfur. That's not good. Turmeric is added for color to make it yellow. Yellow is a toxic color, and if you go and you search my my Twitter timeline for turmeric, make sure to spell it right. You'll find all sorts of toxicity. You'll find this one person would say every time they ate turmeric, they would get very strong anemia symptoms. Like turmeric is toxic. I don't care what anybody else says. It's toxic. And I've put plenty of research up showing it's toxic. And then we have, this is an interesting one, vinegar, which is basically diluted acetic acid. How do we get vinegar? You put the compounds like ethanol, alcohol through the very same detox enzymes via yeast or bacteria that vitamin A goes through. It goes ethanol to acetaldehyde to acetic acid. With vitamin A, it goes retinol to retinaldehyde to retinoic acid. The same detox pathway. Now, I remember, I got to find the website again. I haven't looked at it, but there's a website where a woman, she was very good at going through the research on acetic acid and vinegar in terms of causing health issues. And the funny thing was when I went up on nicotinic acid, all of a sudden, I really don't want vinegar anymore. Like, it doesn't sound good. And that did not come about because I thought it. Internally, my body was like, I don't want this anymore. So, nicotinic acid can, as you become less toxic, you tend to want fewer toxic things. Like people on the program have talked about how it's so easy, how easy it was at some point to quit added sugar. You all have seen like people doing sugar detoxes and stuff, right? Where they just go off all sugar for however many weeks. And often they claim that they're cured of their sugar addiction, but then it usually comes back because they didn't fix the root of the toxicity that was driving them to want added sugar. So, I feel my legs are warm now. So a flush can last anywhere from 1 to 2 hours. Okay, so Kelsey's saying that's the Telegram link. That was her Telegram link. t.me/Naya Source. And that's what she is on Twitter, is Naya Source. You can find her under Naya Source. So anyway, the gamey taste, there is stuff, gamey taste, like, that's the cleaner the meat, probably the gamier it's going to taste. There are other things that you can do out there to reduce the gamey taste, but I'm not going to get into those. And some of them are probably not very good for you. So all done. I remember that from my kids. The kids' sign language, right? All done. So yeah, salt. So let's go see. Joe, have we gotten all the super chats to this point? Let me look through it. So we got to Gabriel. Thank you, Gabriel. We got to Will's unladen swallow. Let me see. Okay, Joe says he thinks so. So I'm going to come back up to the start. We talked about Eric. Eric, I hope you solve it all. And Rustica says, let me go down here. Wait. And Rustica says, my 1-year anniversary of doing LYL, is BCMO 1 gene variation worth testing for? Can you name a testing company to order it from? No, I can't order. I can't name I don't worry about genetic testing. Like I got the 23andMe done, and I'm not saying to go do it. So just because I say I did something, that doesn't mean just go and do it, people. I did the 23andMe testing done. And imagine if I did this testing and I thought genetic testing was worth even doing anything with, I'd be all over that. I don't think it's worth it. The BCMO 1 gene is okay. That's the gene for the enzyme that chops apart carotenoids. Right? So we're not the people who talk about BCMO 1 gene are the people who think that like vitamin A is good usually. and I don't. So if somebody had a slow BCMO1, the cleavage enzyme for carotenoids, beta carotene especially, into retinoids, if somebody had a slow gene, they would tend to back up carotenoids in their system more. The people out there who love vitamin A would be like, oh, they're going to get vitamin A deficient because they can't chop up the carotenoids. And carotenoids have never been an essential nutrient. I just don't understand how retinoids could be an essential nutrient, but carotenoids aren't, because every single retinoid in existence came from a carotenoid. So how can the base material that we can convert not be an essential nutrient if the retinoids are? It's the weirdest logic you've ever seen in your life. So anyway, let's say somebody with a slow BCMO1 would accumulate carotenoids more easily. Well, they would tend to have more carotenoids in their body fat. They would tend to have more carotenoids in their skin. They would turn orange or yellow easier. And we do accumulate carotenoids in the liver as well. So they would just need to, when we watch labs, I can tell you, I've had people, well, there's the, let me find the study on the mango, the mango children. Let me go find, okay, let me put this link in there. Oh, Joe, I haven't shared my screen yet with you. Here, let me do this in a new tab. Okay. I've been over this link before. Let me find the chat again. I'm going to go share my screen. Where is it? Share. Okay. So Joe, it should be up. Let me go back to this. Okay. So hypercarotenodermia in Zambia. Which children turned orange during mango season? So basically, I don't want to spend too much time on this paper, but I got to be back on there to scroll. They basically, by the time the skin turned orange, they were guaranteed toxic in the liver. So if you out there have ever been on a carrot juice, bender, or eaten, we had one woman in the Love Your Liver program who's been with us a very long time. She turned orangish or yellow from red palm oil. Okay. If you've ever turned orange or yellow, let me just put it to you this way, and you have not done a vitamin A detox, you are guaranteed toxic in your liver. Guaranteed. But if you say, well, my skin isn't orange or yellow anymore, let me show you what happens. Oh, wait, I got to spell that right. Here it is. I still got it. Topical beta-carotene. Okay, so beta-carotene is what makes one of the carotenoids that makes your skin yellowish, orangish. So they applied it to the skin. Topical beta-carotene is converted to retinyl esters in human skin ex vivo. So that means they had like a chunk of skin model that they applied topical beta-carotene to, and they saw that it was converted to retinyl esters in the skin. So in this chunk of skin. Oh, wait, I got to share the tab. Sorry. Here's the tab. Got it. Thanks, Joe. Sorry. Here it is. Topical beta-carotene converted to retinyl esters in human skin, in the chunk of skin that was out of the body, and mouse skin in actual live mice. Okay. So what I'm getting at with this, I could go down here and show you this, but it doesn't really matter, because the gist of it is, when these people turned orange or yellow, over time, as they were turning back to normal color, What was going on was the body was converting the carotenoids in the skin into retinyl esters, the storage form of vitamin A. And where did they send it in the blood? It went right to the liver. Okay, so that's what we got. So by the time somebody turns back, and what I've seen, I did have one person who had orange skin, and I can say that over time we did watch their beta-carotene level. I'm itching my arm because I get a little flush. We did see that her beta-carotene came down when people go on a low vitamin A diet. This is very well accepted. This is in the research. The beta-carotene, if you measure serum beta-carotene, that goes down relatively quickly. Because what's happening to it? It's converting into retinoids, and then they didn't measure that. And it's going to the liver. Do they measure how much is in the liver? No, they don't measure that. You have to understand so many things about vitamin A are not measured right. This is part of the psyop. This is part of the propaganda. This is part of the plan to hide it from you. They don't measure retinaldehyde. They don't measure retinoic acid. They don't measure liver biopsies. They don't measure all these things. But what I will tell you is that for the person I had who was orange when she came to me, her serum retinol, her blood vitamin A, did not start to drop until she wasn't orange anymore. Okay? So she had to send all of it from her skin to her liver, and then her liver's working on it before her blood vitamin A finally started to go down. So this is how that works. Let me see. Let me get the chat up. So, and Rustica said mango season is year round. It's a flawed study. I don't know. I mean, they were just poisoning the heck out of those kids with like vitamin A injections and vitamin A supplements, and they were eating mangoes. And I don't want to go do the research on what African mango season is. That's just not. I'm going by the idea. What they did was they said when the kids turned orange, they did a radio labeled vitamin A study, and they said they had toxic levels of vitamin A in their liver by the time their skin turned orange. Actually, so let's turn this on its head. So people will say that when, what is it? The body will, the people who defend vitamin A will say, well, the body will speed up its conversion of carotenoids into vitamin A when it needs it. But then they look at studies and then they say, well, these people are really slow in converting their beta-carotene into retinoids. And you go, well, that's probably because they're toxic. And their body's saying, please stop making retinoids. Slow down the chopping up. Because if you didn't know, one beta-carotene is chopped into 2 retinaldehydes. So every beta-carotene is 2 vitamin A's. Why would your body not want to chop it up fast? I hope it's obvious. Okay? You know, there's a compound, I forget which one it is, but David Hagerson figured this out. There's a capsaicinoid, what's in spicy peppers, right? There's a capsaicinoid that's actually 2 retinoic acids joined. 2 retinoic acids. Gosh, why would spicy foods cause people a ton of pain and a ton of disease? Because they do. It's got straight retinoic acid in it that if you can cleave that, which I'm going to guess we can, you just put basically retin A in your system, all for a little spicy taste. So, let's see. Wait. So yeah, I'm still feeling the flush a little bit. But it's not scary, folks. That's the important thing. So the BCMO1 test, I mean, and Rustic, if you want to do it, that's great. I just don't think it adds anything. Like, I mean, I could, as an example, let me expand this. So I could run serum beta-carotene on people. I could run serum retinol binding protein on people. I do run serum retinol. I stop if a test is not going to change how I address a person. So if, let's say, somebody does the BCM01 gene testing and they're like, I have the worst case scenario of BCM01 genetics possible. You know what I'd then say? All this does is make it so you should work harder in not eating carotenoids. If you have bad genetics, as an example, let's just do an example that people understand very easily. If somebody is born, or if somebody has the genetics to be short, and they have a dream to play basketball, what do they have to do if they want to make that dream come true? Well, they better be really, really, really dang good at it, because the genetic height problem that they have gets in the way. It makes things more difficult. Does it mean that they couldn't play? I mean, there was Muggsy Bogues, there was Spud Webb. Like, can they do it? Sure. But do they have to be better at it overall because genetically they're behind the 8 ball? Yes. So what does it mean? It means people with genetic problems simply have to do the basics, but they have to work harder at them. Like 50% of the Asian population is genetically slower in ALDH. Okay. Funny thing about the normal, what we think of as the more normal traditional Asian diet, and I'm not talking about Okinawans here because everybody throws in the Okinawans thing, and I just don't think that that's really going to add anything to this. But Asians don't tend to do much dairy, do they? What do I talk about as being a vitamin A bomb problem? Dairy. Asians wonder why we Westerners eat so much dairy. Well, does it make sense that if dairy, vitamin A is in the fat, vitamin A is in the casein, vitamin A is in the whey? And we have research on all of this. If you have crappy ALDH, it would make sense that dairy wouldn't make that person feel good. If 50% of Asians have slow ALDH genetically, does it make sense that they wouldn't want to eat this because it would just make people not feel good? There's not a lot of brightly colored vegetables in general Asian foods. I'm not talking about the exceptions here. They never really got on the eat a rainbow thing. So if you look back at this stuff, it makes sense. Now, funny thing is, I do think people with slow ALDH, potentially like Asians, can very easily, this happens to anybody, but slow ALDH, I do think they are more easily fallen into alcoholism and stuff like that. I do know there is some stuff in the research about redheads, like if we're thinking of Irish, their livers are different. Then we know about Asians, 50% of the Asian population is genetically slow in ALDH. And when, I would love to see, like with Native American populations, I would love to see studies of their ALDH. Because I think when we don't process toxins well, but we put them in, you can actually become more addicted to them quickly. It's a strange thing. But poisons beget poisons. The more poison you take in, the more poison you want. And so if you were slow at getting rid of poisons, then the poison is even more effective on you, and then you want more of it. It's a weird thing. So congratulations on your 1-year anniversary. And Rustica, let me look at Joe sending me something. Let me find that one. Why is this so small? My son's soles of his feet turn orange quickly. Oh, this was from Janelle. She posted this in here. My son's soles of his feet turn orange quickly. I breastfed him for years while I was doing liver and vitamin A palmitate. Yeah. If you have, so Janelle, I'm glad you're figuring this out. Thank you for telling us. Thank you for sharing that with us. Folks, if you have cracked heels, you're vitamin A toxic. Guaranteed. You ever notice how cracked heels and cracks on your feet, they'll often have kind of a yellowish tint to them? You ever notice that? It can be fixed. It can be fixed. So Yeah, don't eat liver, don't take retinol palmitate. And just again, I'm just going to say it for everybody out there. Retinol palmitate is the form of retinol ester, storage forms of vitamin A that is the highest in human livers. Like 60+% of the vitamin A in our livers is vitamin A palmitate, retinol palmitate. So there will be pseudo health gurus out on the internet saying retinol palmitate is totally synthetic and it's like, no, it's the exact same thing that's in your cod liver oil. It's the exact same thing that's in your dairy. It's the exact same thing that is in animal foods for the most part. And it is the highest form of vitamin A that is stored in your liver. So for those people to say that it's synthetic and it doesn't, and the stuff that's in foods is somehow different, they have quite the argument to put forth, saying that the science of identifying these compounds in foods or in synthetic compounds, that the science is showing two molecules that are exactly the same in shape and size and form, but yet somehow when they're in the body, they do completely different things, and one's toxic and one is not. I'd love to see that argument, because I've presented the research that shows that they're completely wrong in my Twitter thread on natural and synthetic vitamin A. We were going over the Rodal study last week, and it's the Rodal study that's the best one at showing that, where he fed animals synthetic vitamin A. He was basically disproving this asinine concept by giving animals the same form of vitamin A in the same amount, but there was a synthetic form, and then there was one that was found in food. And the animals got sick exactly the same. Just get off the natural versus synthetic thing. If it's the same compound, it does the same thing. Now, if people say, but what about in food? Is there protective stuff in food? If you just said, is there protective stuff in food to protect you from the vitamin A, you just admitted that the vitamin A is toxic and you need to be protected from it. Maybe the food had those nutrients in it, whether it was an animal or a plant. Maybe the food had to have those nutrients in it to protect it from the vitamin A itself. Right? So let's see. I think that's all the super chats. Let me go back up to the top and I'll start coming down. What are we at? We're at 11:15 by my clock. Okay. Let me just say hello to everyone from the start. If you're here, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you're in the chat, definitely chat. If you're here in the comments later, leave a comment. If you had any of those things happen to you that I mentioned earlier, please feel free to share. You sharing, just remember, you sharing helps other people to relate and see how this works in real people. Oh, we got another super chat. Okay. Zendog Breath says, Zinc poultice got rid of my last big age spot / mole last week. Thank you very much. Age spots that's amazing. Zendog Breath is very active on the Love Your Liver forum, network forum, whatever you want to call it. Social network, private social network, if you want to call it that. It's a social network where everybody's helping each other. So, Zendog, are you using like a diaper rash cream, like zinc oxide, or are you making your own? And Joe, when he gets that comment up, if you could post that on the screen, that'd be great. So, okay, folks, age spots, liver spots, those are vitamin A toxicity. I have been over this on my Twitter. They contain, what's the thing I'm thinking of? Oh, let me go look up. I want to look that up. Hold on. I want to look up how to pronounce it. Lipofuscin pronunciation. I'm done not knowing how to pronounce it. Okay, Joe. Here, let me look. There it is. Zinc oxide cream will make my own soon. Okay, so Let me just see this. I'm going to play this in the background so I can hear it. Lipofuscin. Okay, got it. So I'm going to say lipofuscin for now. Zendog says not baby butts, but the other one. So, okay, lipofuscin. I don't like saying that word. That is vitamin A. That is carotenoids in it. There's retinols in it. Like, I've been over this on Twitter. Your age spots, your liver spots are vitamin A toxicity evidence accumulating in your skin. It is. And then we have people on the program who, some of them, their age spots just go away. Their liver spots, age spots just go away on their own. And then we have Zendog Breath doing his zinc oxide cream. Kelsey just said that she's going to have zinc Nicotinic available on her web store soon. I would be putting she doesn't quite have that link ready yet, so I'll have that up. I'll be posting that here as soon as it is. So Kelsey's going to be making amazing products. I mean, she is making amazing products. She lets me try them. I get to be the lucky guy and try them. She sends them to me, and it's like my favorite gifts in the mail. Thank you, Kelsey. So anyway, yeah, I get to try all the stuff first. It's super fun. I call Kelsey the gorilla, as in Guerrilla. I think that's how you spell it correctly. I call her the gorilla biochemist, and she's making really cool stuff. She's so, like, when that stuff comes out, especially for like personal care products, tooth powders and under eye creams and other stuff that you guys want to use that are non-toxic and work, I'm going to be referencing her a lot. So amazing stuff. My kids love her tooth powder, and I like it too. So let's get into more stuff here. Okay, so the zinc. Okay, so just the zinc Nicotinic. Oh man, I would put that on if I had any liver age spots. I would put it on them, absolutely. So the zinc Nicotinic is going to be fun. I have found sources for it. Don't go asking Julie about when it's going to be available. Kelsey makes her own. I've found sources for it for potential supplements in the future. Yeah. Good stuff. And we have some people in the network testing it, like Hope, who Hope really gets along well with it. And I've known Hope a lot. I mean, I know Hope very well, and we talk a lot. And I'll put it this way, if Hope gets along with it, that's like the equivalent of the canary in the coal mine, but a good thing. Okay. So it's like a very good thing. I take that as a very good sign that it's a very good thing for people. I'm taking it too. There was actually some in my drink. Is there a problem with the thing, Joe? Oh, the zinc oxide cream. If you all wanted to try it, first, zinc oxide cream, think of it like, it looks like the old zinc sunscreen, that the lifeguards used to wear, with like the white things under their eyes and on their nose. So does some of it absorb? Sure. Does all of it absorb? No, it's not like it's not like our amazing magnesium lotion that absorbs amazingly well. Zinc oxide cream is like diaper, like a lot of people they just go to Walgreens and they get the diaper rash cream, baby butts or whatever. It's like got 3 ingredients. It's like petroleum jelly and cornstarch and zinc oxide. And like, it's like 33% zinc oxide or something like that. A lot of zinc in it. So if you want to try, when we have different approaches for things, like on the skin, you're going to pick one of 2 approaches generally. You're either going to put good stuff into the skin, like let's say a zinc oxide cream where you're putting zinc into the tissue. You're giving it something. Or you're going to try to suck the poison out of the skin. And that would be like a charcoal poultice or charcoal and lotion, like I've talked about. So you're usually going to go with one or the other. Now, a charcoal lotion, if you made the charcoal and lotion with, let's say, my magnesium lotion, then you can put magnesium in the skin and the charcoal pulls stuff out of the skin at the same time, and you get like a double benefit. Maybe in the future, if we do this, when the zinc nicotinate's out, whether it's Kelsey or whatever, then we can start getting that into the skin as well. And then you've got zinc nicotinate. If you don't understand how important that is, so it's nicotinic acid bound to zinc. We like nicotinic acid, don't we? And we like zinc. It's going to be revolutionary, basically. And I honestly don't understand why nobody else is selling it. But hey, we'll take it. So, okay, let me look for the next question. Santiago asks, has anyone tried nicotinic acid while fasting? I've tried it. You will flush harder if you do it fasting, generally. The way I put it is we're not chasing the flush, but we're not avoiding it. Okay, so you have to think of it that way. You're not looking at the flush as like, oh my gosh, I have to flush. I have taken obscene doses of nicotinic acid, fully buffered, obscene, to prove that it was safe to me and for my people. That's what I do. I take high dose. I'm not saying you should do this. I'm not saying I got any benefit from obscene doses of nicotinic acid. I didn't notice any benefit to it, but it also wasn't bad. Why take more than you need to? And then when I was on these obscene doses, I actually stopped flushing. And then when I went back down, I started flushing again, which was so weird. Kelsey and I have had discussions about what this may mean, but either way, you're not chasing the flush, you're not avoiding the flush. There will be some days where you flush harder and some days where you're like, I hardly flush at all. I'm basically done with the flush, right? You see my skin's gone back to normal color. I can feel a little bit of prickles now, but it's not scary, folks. It's not. So the research we see from what Kelsey showed me in the research and from what I saw in the research, it looks like the benefits of nicotinic acid come stronger and faster when you take it with food. Basically, the overall benefits that we're looking for come stronger and faster when you take it with food. Now, you could take it with a fiber drink. You could take it with, I don't know if we have Kelsey has her Nia Sludge article out in the Love Your Liver program yet. I don't remember if we approved that or not, but that's coming. I made a Nia Sludge variation the other day. It was like charcoal and psyllium and sunfiber and the buffered niacin, so that it was magnesium nicotinate after it had reacted. It was good stuff. The soluble fiber and nicotinic acid in the body get along very well. They help the GPR 109A, which Kelsey would probably talk more about in her Telegram group that I'm still learning about. So we're going to move on to the next one. So Case says, hi, everyone. Dr. Smith, I'm wondering what you take for a pre-workout or what are your recommendations? Also, could you explain the effects of citrulline in supplements? Thank you. Well, citrulline, I'll put it this way. Now, I'm going to get into the realities of this stuff, especially for you guys. Okay? Arginine and citrulline, they are nitric oxide boosters. It's, as they say, nitric oxide boosters. I don't want to go look up the study right now, but I've presented that study here before, which is chronic. The idea that stimulating nitric oxide boosting over time, chronically, long term, is bad for the liver. Simple as that. Like, it may be good for, like, people be like, oh, but it helps the heart and it helps the blood flow and it helps all this stuff. And it's like, yes, it can do that. And it could also do it at the same time by being bad for the liver. Maybe it's slowing down bile production. And so the liver's getting more clogged up, but you're not making as much bile. which is really what's getting in the way of the nitric oxide production. And so then you see less bile affecting the nitric oxide production. The nitric oxide goes up out in the outer parts, but in the liver, you're shutting down bile production. That's the simple explanation for it. I mean, what is, when you think about it, Viagra is affecting nitric oxide production. What is it doing that it can change something so quick? What is it doing? And long term, it's not good for the liver. So we start getting into that. I mean, the only pre-workout, so I'm going to say this. People having to get hyped up for their workout to do it well is like kind of drug-like thinking. Do you know what I mean? Like, so if you're pushing yourself harder than you can normally, it's probably not going to end well. Like, right, if you put a turbocharger on a car that's not working right and you run the turbocharger hard, you're going to burn out that engine quicker. A lot of people, they push real hard in the gym and then they get TMJ and like caffeine. If you have TMJ and you get caffeine, you're just, I mean, if you drink caffeine and you have TMJ, that caffeine is making your TMJ worse. If you go in the gym and you're constantly like, and you're pushing like clamping your teeth together and pushing really hard, like past the point where you start making the pain face. You can work out without making faces. Did you know this? Some people get so trained into making faces, they're making faces on their warm-up sets. Like, seriously, that's a warm-up set. You shouldn't be making any faces. So, taking stimulants. Generally, stimulants are not very good for your heart. Citrulline and arginine. Okay, I'll put it this way. Oh, and yohimbe is really not good for the liver. So, but I brought that up because nitric oxide guys, they often talk about nitric oxide with erectile function. If you were going to mess with these things, I would definitely not mess with sildenafil, Viagra, all these other things. If you were going to do something, think of it this way. Anything you're going to do, guys, to help blood flow, or let's say, Cass, if you were going to take a pre-workout, here's the key thing. Don't just take it every day. Right? It's dose dependent, and tolerance is a bad thing. So if you take your pre-workout every day and guys are like, well, I used to take 1 scoop of pre-workout and then it stopped working, so I started taking 2, and now I'm up to 3 scoops and I'm dry scooping it. Like, oh my gosh, like dry scooping just looks like a junkie to me. Seriously, like you can't even mix it with water. You're just so desperate to shove this toxic stimulant powder down your mouth that you're just not even going to mix it with water. Like that's crazy. Pre-workout is like legal speed. I mean, are we really going to argue that? If somebody wanted to do pre-workout, it would be, I'm not endorsing this. Like if you're choosing to do this, you're choosing, we're all adults here. You're going to choose to do things that are good or bad for you. I'm going to choose to do things in my life that are good or bad for me. If you think I'm perfect, if you think I run around being perfect, I'm not perfect. I actually have said this before, that my flaws and sometimes my bad choices are what have helped the development of this program, because when I screwed things up, I went, oh crap, that's how that works. How do you figure out that something is toxic and how it interacts with things unless you take the toxin? I don't need to take hard drugs to figure out that those are bad. But when there's things like that people are consuming, like alcohol and other things like that, I've learned tons of things. I've talked about this when I read the research wrong, that I thought alcohol helped with vitamin A detox because I misread the research and I didn't have toxic bile theory yet. Now I understand exactly what alcohol does. It doesn't help vitamin A detox. It retards it. It slows it down. Hold on one sec. I got to fix something. So, hello, Trusty Rusty. And yes, everyone else who said and hope and all that. Yes. So let me hold on. I got to fix something for my lovely. Come on. Hold on. Let me just fix this. Fixing something for my family while we're here. The joy of doing live YouTubing. Almost ready. Okay, now we're back. So let me get the chat up. So anyway, yeah, making mistakes. Oh, the nutrition. No, Joe, that nutritionrestored.com. If you want to go to the, so my main website is nutritiondetective.com, but I'm going to type it here. If you want to go see my old articles, it's nutritionrestored.com/blog-forum. I have about 400 something articles there that I wrote. So if you want to go read that, there's lots of stuff there. A lot of times I post stuff from here. Oh yeah. So okay. So if you were going to do something, if you wanted to, let's say, have a healthy pre-workout, which, I mean, most people, when they think pre-workout, they think stimulant. It has to be a stimulant of some sort. What am I going to do before I work out? Generally, I'm going to, as somebody mentioned, potassium as a good pre-workout. I'm going to have potassium before I work out. I will put it this way. My normal pre-workout meal, when I wake up early, because I'm an early riser, and I don't want to make food, and I don't want to have it be like take a long time to eat and all that stuff, and I need it to sit well in my stomach, because I'm going to go work out. Like, I'm driving to the gym, it's 20 minutes away, and I'm going to be working out as soon as I get there. So if I'm going to be eating something, I need it to be fairly light, and I want it to have carbs and protein and potassium and salt. So what do I have for that? I have a beef stick, like Chomp's grass-fed beef stick. Yeah, there may be an ingredient or two in there that is not perfect. I never said you had to be perfect, did I? And I might have 2 bananas. That's a super common pre-workout meal for me. I hit all the bases. Now, if somebody wanted to, I'm just going to let you know this, niacin before a workout, I think is actually, okay, this is the important thing that you hear. Flush niacin, doing your niacin before you work out, I believe is actually a very good thing. However, in your early days, you remember what I told you, like nicotinic acid is pro-detox. It's like a detox accelerator. It's almost like the anti-vitamin A. Well, think about this. If you're detoxing while you're at the gym, your performance may not be the highest it could be. Does that make sense? Right? You can't clean an engine while it's on the racetrack. So if you wanted maximum performance, you don't take your nicotinic acid before the gym. But if you want maximum health, I think doing the nicotinic acid before the gym is just fine. And I would do that. Now, if somebody wanted to do anything stimulant pre-workout, the simplest thing that we know of is simply caffeine. Why did anybody have to get into all the, oh my gosh, the HMB and oh my gosh, like it's just, you don't need to try to overstimulate yourself into a heart attack with like 20 different ingredients. You don't need to do that. That's not good for you. Pre-workouts in general, if you're buying a pre-workout, it's not good for you. If it's artificially sweetened, it's even worse. If it's got 20 different stimulants in it, They've got like synephrine and like oh my gosh, they're just trying to give you a heart attack. If you're dry scooping, you look like somebody snorting lines of cocaine, I swear to God, to me. So that's what I got. But I would definitely get the potassium, some salt, some protein, and some carbs that you tolerate well. And then if you really want to wake up, I know I talked about cold showers, like not being great for bowel production, but if you really want to wake up before you go work out, start your shower on warm and end it on cold, and you'll be awake for free. Okay? So that's that. Okay. So we got thank you for that comment there, Matej, to remind me about the potassium. That was good. Oh, the other thing I do, like as a pre-workout, this is a great example, I think. So when I go, any of you out there who have ever done any kind of shooting competition, target competition, whatever. It doesn't have to be guns. It could be archery. It could be whatever. I have noticed that those, I believe, because they are so much muscle coordination and eye input and brain stuff. I was talking to a guy at a competition the other day, and I said, these things drain me more than anything else I've ever done. And he was like, oh yeah. So I get done with the gun competition, let's say, and I want to go work out that afternoon. And I go home and I'm just wiped. Like as soon as the adrenaline and the cortisol wear off, I'm wiped. So what do I know to do? Well, I don't do this. I do this maybe once a week. So this is not a daily thing, but I go to Whole Foods and I get their house brand organic coconut water. There's about 2,400 milligrams of potassium in that container. Yes, it's a Tetra Pak. No, it's not perfect. That's why I don't do this all the time. But I go and I get that Tetra Pak and the organic coconut water, the house brand, and I drink that. Kind of spread it out over about a half hour, 45 minutes, and then I can go work out in the afternoon. So I get that potassium in, and then everything, I'm rehydrating, and I'm getting my potassium, and there is some magnesium in it too. So that works. That's a good, like, rescue me from one workout, the gun competition, and prepare me for the next one. And I do have some protein in between there too. But if I just had the protein and not the potassium in the coconut water, my workout would really suck. So let me see. Okay, we got that. Yeah. Okay. Of course, every time I have the live stream, I just looked at my phone and there was 19 notifications. And I tell people, like, leave me alone on Tuesdays. Don't text me. And of course, everybody's texting me within a 2-hour period or 3-hour period on Tuesdays. So I'm just looking through here, making sure I didn't miss any super chats. This is nice doing a Q&A again. I haven't done one of these in a while, so I hope you guys are enjoying it. Let's see. Oh, I don't know if I posted this anywhere. I posted a thing on Twitter the other day about how they found abnormally high levels of copper in tumors. It's like, really? Shocking. And then there's these people on Twitter who are like, copper toxicity doesn't exist. And I'm like, that's not what the cancer says. Like, this is the great one. This is the greatest gaslighting. If your liver and kidney and bile system is working fine, you're not accumulating copper and you're not getting toxicity and you're detoxing just fine. And I go, you ever seen a car where it's brand new and then you drive it over the years and it starts not working as well? Is the car still working? Well, yeah. Is the car gunking up inside? Well, yeah. Is the car getting wear and tear from that gunk? Well, yeah. Does the car have to stop working for the performance to be decreasing due to toxicities and deficiencies, basically? Oh, I guess not. Like, I don't understand how people can do this like stupidity. There's a saying I have for this. My car worked just fine until it broke. Because sometimes people wait for the break before they realize that they need to change something. Oh, my carnivore guru says that eating liver's fine. Okay, cool. Go ahead, bro. Go ahead. I will be right here. Have you guys looked at the Liver King lately? It's bad. Now, somebody's going to say, oh, well, that's performance enhancing drugs. Well, of course he's doing that. He's still doing it. He's still lying about not doing it. And then he was eating a pound of raw liver at a time. He didn't do it daily. He was still taking organ meat supplements on the daily. But just imagine if you take a bunch of liver toxic things together, he's only been like famous for like less than 2 years, I think. And in less than 2 years, he's falling apart. Do you see how quick this can happen? So maybe somebody doesn't take performance enhancing drugs and it takes them 10 years to get toxic from eating liver and organ meat supplements. Okay, they still get there. The peds just speed it up. He will be one of the most classic examples of basically killing yourself for social media fame. Which will be sad, but hopefully the benefit of that will help other people to see the light so that they don't keep going down the same road, right? That's there has to be something good that comes out of it. Okay. Oh, Laura, I just saw Laura Lee's comment here. She said she was talking about, I think she's talking about the nicotinic acid. She said, true, my cravings are disappearing. Do you know how scary this would be to like the food industrial complex? Think of how scared they would be of this happening. Oh my God, people aren't addicted to chocolate anymore. Oh my gosh, people are buying less alcohol. Oh my gosh, people aren't buying desserts anymore. So now do you understand the propaganda around nicotinic acid, which they turn into, they're like, all niacin is bad, which is what I used to believe. I believed the propaganda because at the time I didn't have the energy and the starting point to figure out the psyop and the propaganda. And what happened for all of us over time, Kelsey came in and educated me on what was right and what wasn't. So she basically gave me the graduate course in like a week of what was true and what was BS. And then I helped, she wrote articles for the Love Your Liver program, and I gave some of my commentary on it, and then we brought it out, and now we're seeing crazy, wonderful things happen because we are fixing toxicities and we are fixing deficiencies. Nicotinic acid is critical for the energy for your detox system to run. It's the gasoline. The minerals that I work on, those are the parts of the engine. You kind of need gasoline and the parts of the engine to run the whole system. And then you don't put in trashy parts and trashy gasoline and trashy oil. Like I have the brakes in my car make a bunch of noises and I couldn't figure out why. And I go to the mechanic and he's like, well, there's no problem with your brakes. He's like, the guy who did your brakes before probably put in crappy quality brake pads. And that just happens. And I'm like, oh, crappy quality brake pads. Toxicity, garbage in my car. Gonna fix that next time. So, but right now I'm kind of going, I can deal with the noise. The brake, I'll use the brake pads until they wear out. They work. So anyway. Jiminy Christmas. So Ramon says, I love mustard. Well, Ramon, remember, the poison begets poison. It's just the way it is. Like, I mean, my boy will try to punish me by, and okay, so I want you guys to know, parenting wise, I let my kids know what is and isn't good for them. And my kids are still making choices on their own because I am not going to be the lamp. What? Oh, the lamp vote. Okay, we'll do that. Maybe you guys, when you were kids, right? Your parents told you, don't eat this, don't eat that. I'm not going to buy this crap and have it around the house. I'm not going to do this. You're not going to have soda. You're not going to have chips. You're not going to have all this stuff, right? And what did you do as soon as you left the house? As soon as you moved away for college? You probably stuffed your face with all of that crap. Because that's what people do, right? The forbidden fruit. Oh, like forbidden fruit, like ivermectin, where they said ivermectin's bad. You shouldn't take it. And then everybody else, all the conservative side is like, oh my gosh, this must be the greatest thing ever. It won a Nobel Prize. And while they're not realizing that the Nobel Prize is given out by the elites, and they're not seeing that they're being like Pied Pipered into the opposite side trap. And they want what they're told they can't have. And now both sides have been psyoped into taking pharma stuff. They gotcha. Okay. So anyway, what am I trying to do with my kids? I'm getting them to pay attention to how they feel when they eat the wrong things. How obvious can it be? Like if you have a child, like let's say I have a 15-year-old daughter, and what do 15-year-old girls really like generally? They like sugar. And I'm pointing out to her when she has some acne, how's your eating been? So she can then put it together so that she learns to make the choice to not eat it. Instead of fear is the worst motivator. So like fear, what I mean here is like me telling her, you can't do this. This is terrible for you. Da, 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 da. I tell her and I make sure she observes it. Kind of like when we say with the vitamin A toxicity and the vitamin A level in the blood, even if it's not going down, are you feeling better? Yes, then we're doing the right things. What I can do the opposite with, let's say, my daughter and my boy. Are your issues getting worse? Yes, you're doing the wrong things. Here are the wrong things that you might want to fix. Simple. So I want my kids to get to 18, and if they go away to school or work somewhere, I don't want them to be like, oh my gosh, I finally escaped my crazy nutrition dad who would never let us eat anything bad. And then all they want to do is eat bad things. I'm trying to fix that now. And maybe I do different parenting because, I don't know, maybe I'm not as toxic. It's amazing how much patience you can get with your kids when you're not toxic. And then you start doing the parenting that you wish you had because your parents were toxic. Most likely. I know mine was. My dad died of prostate cancer. He was a dentist. Of course he was toxic. An amazing dentist, but the profession got him. So anyway, we're going to wrap it up pretty quick here. It's 11:50. So if anybody has any super chats you want to get in, you better get them in quick. Let's see. Oh, Hope was saying fast cooking. Yeah, so if you get grass-fed beef or you're getting, properly raised bison or whatever, there does tend to be a lot less fat in it. And so it will cook faster. So like what they say about cooking grass-fed beef is you cook it low and slow. So it's going to take longer. But if you don't cook it low and slow, it's going to dry out because it doesn't have these ungodly amounts of fat in it from all the grains and all the antibiotics and all the shots and all the So yeah, definitely if you're cooking grass-fed stuff, which is what I would want you to have, just cook it low and slow. I would just do some research on the internet so you make sure you're not like crispy charring your beef and making it taste not good. Okay. Ramon says, but mustard calls for tomato, lettuce, onion, pickles, and other things. I mean, poison begets poison. See how this works? How many ways do Americans combine non-organic flour full of glyphosate and tomatoes and cheese, and then we could get into, and then meat that's probably not great for you. Isn't that like, if you look at fast food restaurants, wheat, cheese, tomatoes, beef or pork. Pork is the worst. Don't eat pork. And you could think of Italian versions of that combination. You could think of Mexican versions of that combination. You could just go into almost to any cuisine in America, any Americanized cuisine, and you're going to find that combination. Or you could just say grains, glyphosate-filled grains instead of wheat. Most of American food is just the same stupid ingredients given to you in a different package. Okay. Vasil asks, Garrett, new to vitamin A toxicity thing, got converted by a few guys on the Peat forum. I love it. The Peat forum is such a failure. They send me more people than just about anybody. So I really thank you, Peat world. I love you. It doesn't work. Peat stuff doesn't work. That's why the thread, from what I've heard, the thread about me and vitamin A toxicity on the Peat forum is the biggest thread there. So I'm glad you're here, Vasil. I'm glad you're here. And thank the guys who sent you, too. What you say makes too much sense. Yes, I am so happy today. So actually, Zendog has been saying that I seem a lot happier and I'm less sarcastic. And I'm doing less of my voice where I kind of mock things. And I thought, I am happier. I am less sarcastic. What do I think it is? Well, it's all the detox and fixing nutrient deficiencies that I've been doing, but it's also the nicotinic acid took it to the next level. So you were asking, and I love, you do not fall for the viral theory of disease, which is rare. Virus theory is hot garbage. Okay, I just want you guys to know, like sometimes people, let's say people on Twitter, like I posted about lactoferrin, and it was a study because we love lactoferrin here. We're working our butts off on getting the lactoferrin out. Please don't email Julie about when it's going to be out. As soon as it's out, it will be on the website and we will announce it. So please don't ask Julie. It's not going to get you anything any faster. There is no waiting list for it. I'm out of it. I mean, if you want, I ran out of it. If anybody shouldn't be running out of it, it's me, right? I make it. And we had set up everything that we were not going to run out of it. And then something beyond our control from the guy who supplies us, that all of a sudden he's like, we should have it set aside for you. And then all of a sudden he's like, it's not set aside for you. It's not where it's supposed to be. And we're like, what? Are you kidding me? But anyway, back to the lactoferrin thing. I posted a thing about how lactoferrin was the research was saying lactoferrin was anti-this, 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 and antiviral was in there. And somebody on my Twitter's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you mentioned this thing about antiviral because the virus theory is garbage. And I'm like, how am I going to not quote research that talks about viruses? Like, is that something I cannot talk about? Even though I've said over and over that virus theory is complete garbage. Like, I don't know, some people, Twitter, people will be like, why don't you completely explain yourself on Twitter? I'm like, because you only have 280 letters. Twitter is not nuance, right? Twitter's like short and sweet. Yes, you can type more than that now. Yes, I have Twitter Blue and I can type to my heart's content. So anyway, Vasil, I'm glad you enjoy it. Thank you for that. Spread the word, everybody. I want to help Peat people. I was a Peat person for a bit. I followed Matt Stone. He was a huge Peat person. Both Matt Stone and I have ditched the Peat thing. Everybody ditches the Peat thing. You don't find any 50-year-olds doing the Peat thing because they would get fat AF super quick. Peat practitioners out there saying, add sugar to your milk. Drink Mexican Coke. Anybody who's over 40 starts doing that. And you're just like, it's insane. I've had people come to me. They tell me they gained 100 pounds doing Peat stuff. I have a woman who came to me and told me that. It was just healing pounds was what they said. Now, I want to say something out here. So right here for people who are doing the Love Your Liver program, or people who might be out there who thought the program failed them because they might have gained some weight on the program. Okay. Especially like ex-ketoers or ex-super low carbers or whatever. Some people, when they come into this program, whoever I'm talking to, have damaged themselves so badly, their liver is so messed up, that if they start putting in too many carbs too quick, they can start gaining weight. So had these people stuck around and maybe asked some questions and maybe watched what was happening and then not just blamed the program, they might have heard me say, just maybe you're not ready for so many carbs yet. This magical word, yet. Maybe you just slowly introduce some carbs and you see what you tolerate as we fix the inner workings of your liver so that you can then start handling your blood sugar and your liver and your pancreas all start working better again. And then you won't gain tons of weight when you start adding carbs back in, because you're going to do it. Here's 2 more keywords: within tolerance levels. Well, 3 words, whatever. I wanted it to be specific. So, and here's the other thing, folks. If you see people out on the internet bad-mouthing this program, they usually, you guys know that when you go on Amazon, right? And you start reading these like 1-star reviews, and you start reading, you can tell from the 1-star review, like you see all the 5-star reviews and people are like, this is amazing. This is amazing. This works so well. It does exactly what it says. And then you see the 1-star reviews and people are like, I couldn't get this thing to work. I tried every single way and it wouldn't work. And I sent it back. And then maybe you start thinking user error. Anybody who works in customer service knows that people can take good information and do the absolute dumbest thing with it. This is Murphy's Law. This is why I don't put out sensitive information on the internet. Because you even put out good information and people are going to take it and do exactly the wrong thing with it. Guaranteed. And then they're going to blame the person who wrote the article when it was user error. The dumber people are, the less likely they are to realize that it was their dumbness that is the problem. Like even just somebody's like, I tried taking zinc and I felt horrible. And I kept taking it for 6 months and I felt horrible. And I'm like, seriously, did you ever watch a live stream? Did you ever watch one? Doc, it hurts when I do this. Well, then don't do that. Like maybe me saying zinc is really a sensitive thing and that people can react to super low doses and not feel good. Oh, but you took it for 6 months. And you're going to blame the program. I'll tell you, folks, the world, let me give you a quick update on the war on Nutrition Detective now. I'm going to try to remember all these things. So recently, our Instagram account was hacked and they tried to extort us for money to get it back. That was after, so my ads guy, his Meta account, his Facebook account was hacked. And we're wondering if that was somehow how they got into our Instagram account that was then hacked. And then they tried to extort us for that. Well, we worked our way around this. Let me just give the haters out there and the bots listening to this. I'm really good at solving problems. So like, come at me, bro. I'll solve it. This is what I do. I have backup plans. I do this. So there was that, right? And then on Twitter, just so around the same time, I told a person, these were the 3 words I used: enjoy poisoning yourself. Guess what that got me? A 7-day Twitter jail. 7 days for telling somebody to enjoy poisoning themselves. This is like when they're not allowing people to play the Christmas song "Baby It's Cold Outside," but then they're playing like Cardi B, WAP, and it's like, wait, I'm like, enjoy poisoning yourself, and other people are like, you're an effing and I'm getting the 7-day suspension. Okay. So what else has there been? Oh, don't ever forget the Vimeo. Don't ever use Vimeo. Vimeo kicked me off. I was a paid person. I paid them to host my videos. Not a single video on Vimeo was public. They were all unlisted. And Vimeo kicked me off. Okay. Oh, wait, what happened to the show again? It disappeared. I'm trying to think of other things that happened. Oh, and then recently we've had a flurry of anonymous 1-star reviews showing up on various review websites of me. So now we have a coordinated attack of negative reviews. And people out there are trying to say, I'm a shill for pharma. Okay. I don't think pharma shills get attacked like this. So this is just the beginning, folks. It's going to get worse. I have no doubt in my mind. We keep growing. As I post on Twitter, the Nutrition Truth Army only grows. Because it's the truth. It's not like Ray Peat stuff. Ray Peat stuff is the most ivory tower bullshit. That when people go into the real world and then they're like, I mean, Ray Peat people sometimes look like drug addicts. They're like, I take methylene blue and I take thyroid hormone and I take this. And Ray Peat in his writings was like, we're trying to get to a natural diet. And then the Ray Peat followers, it's like that saying of like, I love Christ, but I'm not so sure about his followers. Like, I'm not so sure about Christians sometimes. You know what I mean? Like Ray Peat was like, we're trying to figure this out with diet. And then people are like, drink Mexican Coke. Like, what? That's not food. I don't care if it's real sugar. Taking thyroid hormone to artificially raise your body temperature does not mean you are speeding up your metabolism. You're taking drugs. Methylene blue is toxic. Like, don't do that. Why would nature couple our mitochondria only for us to go and try to uncouple them with drugs? Serious. There was a philosophy club in my naturopathic medical school. I wasn't a member. I learned later that people said that this naturopathic philosophy club was a guys club so that these guys could meet and get away from their girlfriends and wives, which is funny. But I was like, why would I need to go and do like circle jerk talking about naturopathic philosophy when it's like, first do no harm? Do I need to have a meeting on this topic? First, do no harm. Okay. So then let me tell you a thing. I don't know if you've heard about me. When I went out into practice, one of the first things I did, one of the first jobs I got, because I didn't know how to start a practice, I got a job in the Tucson Mall at an aesthetics clinic in the mall. I was a mall doctor. And what did they have me injecting? Botox and fillers and other garbage like that. Laser tattoo removal. Like most of the time we had techs doing that stuff, but I was the injector. I'm good at injecting. I'm actually very technically skilled at injecting. My father, I believe this is like a genetic thing. My father was known as the painless dentist around town. People came to his funeral and they talked about his injection technique. So I'm pretty sure I got it somehow genetically from him. But anyway, first do no harm. I was injecting botulism toxin. Sometimes we have to do things to realize how wrong they are, right? So I have learned from my mistakes, and I now know better than to do that because I felt it in me. I was like, I'm seriously injecting these things into people. What about first do no harm? Like, heck, if you wanted to, Kelsey's been experimenting with some topical niacin and some techniques of like, I don't know if you want to call it fascial release or massage, but other stuff to get areas working better. Well, wouldn't that be first do no harm? You're giving the body like something it needs, and then you're just helping it to reorganize itself better with like the massage or the fascial stuff. That's first do no harm. Not injecting known poisons. But did I do it? Yes. Did I learn from it? Yes. Would I ever do it again? No way. Maybe someday I'll tell the story of the portrait plasma facial. Oh my God. I did one of those. I would never do it again. It was the most traumatizing procedure I would ever do to a person in my life. And I would never do it again, but it was horrible. I told my bosses as soon as I did it, I was like, I'm not doing that again. And they said, okay. They took $15,000 off my yearly pay. I was like, okay, I'm not doing it. So anyway, okay, yeah. So yeah, Hope was saying sulfur foods are no good for her. Trusty Rusty says leaving the Ray Peat form is the smartest thing you could do. We got to wrap this up here quick. Stug Tree says cons outweigh pros when it comes to organic coffee. So while we're here, since we were talking about pre-workout, I'm going to address the coffee thing again. So we're going to get to that for you, Stugtron. Couldn't see if it said slug or stug for a second. I got to fix the brightness on this monitor. I have a blue light filter on it, and then I also lower the brightness so it can be a little hard to see sometimes. Coffee is commonly... Okay, let's talk about coffee and caffeine. I remember seeing somebody posted a video saying that basically the pace of life today, the way we live and the pace of life, the pace of life increased as coffee came into our lives, our daily lives. So it's like our pace of life today is part and parcel of caffeine and coffee consumption. They come together. And as somebody on Twitter the other day said, they said we are not designed for the pace of life today. Our brains are not designed for it. It's not good for us. So what do we have to do, or what have we figured out to do that helps us to cope with the pace of life today? Caffeine and coffee. 90% of people consume some form of caffeine every week. 90% of them, we're talking Americans. 90% of Americans consume some form of caffeine every week, whether that's coffee or otherwise. Kind of starts to make sense, doesn't it? That like it's hard to live and function in this world we have created without caffeine. The only reason the pace of life is the way it is today is because of caffeine coming into it. So, does that mean it's good for us? Well, I mean, you got to adapt. Is coffee good for people? No, it's not good for people. Do I believe the studies by the $100 billion+ coffee industry saying it's good for you? No, I don't believe it. And like, what was it? There was the one study on either Parkinson's or Alzheimer's where they're like 12 cups of coffee a day reduces your risk of either Alzheimer's or Parkinson's. I'm like, 12 cups of coffee. How many people did you find who were doing that? And then here's the kicker. When you see they say, oh, 12 cups of coffee reduce their risk of this disease. And then you go, oh, well, what other diseases did it increase their risk of that you're just not mentioning because you only looked for one? See what I'm saying? So you can always, you could reduce the risk of one disease and increase the risk of 40 other diseases. But I don't know if $100 billion a year industry wanted to look for one good thing that they could have the mainstream media pump out to you to tell you that your addiction to a stimulant is somehow helpful for your life. They are happy to do it. It's like alcohol right now. I saw somebody just came out with a new book saying like 2 to 3 alcoholic drinks a day is good for you. Really? It just came out. The guy's an MD. MD sold us all out a very, very long time ago. 2 to 3 drinks a day. Have you ever looked at somebody who drinks 2 to 3 drinks a day and seen how puffy they are? And how when they stop drinking, they'll lose like 10 pounds in a month? It's not hard to see. You ever go look at pictures before and after stopping alcohol? Google that. I've been over that before here. People look like garbage when they drink daily compared to what they could look like if they didn't drink. But they're going to say, oh, no, it's good for you, right? How many billions or trillions a year does the alcohol industry make? Just want to make sure that it's enough to pay off like some third world researchers to write phony papers for them. I just want to see if it's enough money. Remember, Pete, folks, researchers can potentially just write crap down on paper and submit it to a journal. The journal is not checking up on their work. You just see about this, what the Harvard president plagiarized like all her papers? Lies are everywhere. If we are in the end times, then we are in the times of the greatest deception ever. And I'm just out here trying to spit truth. So, yeah, and Rustica gave a good suggestion. Ramon, try ground beef from a different farm or retail store. Yeah, that's always a good solution. Like, if one doesn't taste good, like I've been over this before. There's a guy in town who jojoba beef, and his cattle are like desert brush fed. Like they just roam around in the desert and eat like the desert brush. A lot of jojoba, which is where they get jojoba oil from. So these cattle, the rancher will tell everybody this doesn't taste like you're used to because the fat in it is like jojoba oil fat. He's like, so it'll taste different than you're used to. So like, that's just an obvious one. But yeah, different beefs will taste different. Of course. Yes. You are what you made of. You are what you eat. Sorry. You are what you eat. And then you are what you eats. So Alex says beer, whiskey, alcohol is nasty. I mean, if people go back and if you really go back and you think about what alcohol tasted like when you first had it, if it wasn't some like super sugary, fruity drink that hid all of it, like when you go back and you remember your first alcoholic drink, it was nasty. And then you kept drinking it because you wanted the effect. And then slowly, maybe you converted your mind into being like, I actually kind of like this, because the other option was to suffer every time you drank it. Our brains are smart. They'll adapt. They're like, well, I mean, it is a poison. It doesn't taste good. But what if we just kind of change our perception and then we make ourselves think we like it? Well, then we've at least removed one problem, haven't we? Okay, so Squiddy says, I struggle to give up drinking, have definitely cut back to only twice a week, but still give cravings after a few days. For those of you folks who are doing nicotinic acid, we having a lot of internet problems today? Maybe it's because I turned on the Wi-Fi, Joe. Anyway, if you are out there in the Love Your Liver program, you've read the nicotinic acid articles, or if you're not in the Love Your Liver program and you're just deciding to be a cowboy and go do the nicotinic acid on your own without the good advice of Kelsey and myself in the program, you could save yourself a lot of trouble for $99 a year by joining the program. You could save yourself a lot of trial and error, really. How much trial and error is worth $99? So anyway, do not do high-dose nicotinic acid past 150 or 200 milligrams a day if you're still drinking alcohol on the regular. Don't. There's something. You don't want to be intoxing while you're accelerating detoxing. It doesn't end well. This is something that I personally experienced, and I've chatted with Kelsey about it, and Kelsey was like, yeah, you shouldn't have done that. And I was like, I know that now. Don't do that. But see, again, my flaws help me to figure these things out. So you guys should actually, if I tell you something like this, you should be going, wow, I'm glad Dr. Smith did that instead of me having to do it. So Alex says, I don't know, I eat clean, but I still want condensed milk with sugar, man. You can't. Well, eating clean doesn't fix things. First of all, anybody who says they eat clean to me, I don't assume they're doing anything that I'm saying to do. They might be eating, I don't know, liver and sweet potatoes all the time. And they're like, I eat so clean. They're like a paleo person. And they might be really messing themselves up. And then they wonder why they still want toxic things. Now, condensed milk is totally oxidized. It's, you can eat whatever you want. I don't care. But condensed milk is probably the worst milk you could consume. So up to you. Okay, I got to wrap this up. So Vasil just said, I want to add this. Vasil said, Trusty Rusty, there are quite a few smart people there talking about the Repeat forum that are not cultists. Some nice discussion there, but got to expand the knowledge. Yes. There are smart people everywhere. There were some smart people in the Love Your Liver network, or the Nutrition Detective Network, the Love Your Liver program. There were some smart people who understood the vitamin A toxicity thing, but they were not willing to make the jump. Questioning nearly all of nutrition science, they didn't have the balls to make the jump. We'll put it that way. You start questioning vitamin E, you start questioning vitamin D supplements, you start questioning all of it, the B vitamins. And I know at least one person was like, in their head, they were probably going, oh my God, I paid all this money for my nutrition education and he's basically tearing it all to shreds. And now what is my nutrition education worth? Some people can't handle that. I spent $120,000 of student loans on my naturopathic medical education. And I'm the blackest sheep out there, basically telling people, like, why would you use herbs for this? Why would you? Castor oil packs are just putting castor oil into the bloodstream. Like, it's not detoxing anything. Like, I will call bullshit on all of it. I just don't have any fear, and I have a hugely open mind. Actually, Kelsey and I, on our little Telegram chat, we were having I opened up a big can of worms the other day about questioning stuff, and she went along with it. Will has something. Okay, so Will has something he wanted pointed out. Let me see. Where was it? There it is. Trusty Rusty says blood test win, Dr. Smith, superhuman test. Okay. I did the blood tests, and there was something that I had a theory on it that I want to test. Like we're talking about testosterone, but there's something that went funky in my tests. I'm going to admit it. And so I'm going to I made some changes, and I'm going to retest it in about 2 months. Well, 2 months from when I tested, which I think I tested like 2 or 3, I think maybe 3 weeks ago. But I did a blood donation very, very close, like the day or two before my blood labs were drawn, and it shifted things. So I'm waiting, they say at the Red Cross, you can donate every 2 months. So what I'm doing now is to restore what I believe was changed on my test. I'm waiting 2 months, and then I'm going to retest the labs that were confusing. So Joe was saying, I'm sorry, Will was saying, let me find it, upped carbs due to my own research and testing, and now I have those tiny white rocks, but also black flaky stuff in stool. See part 2. Okay. What's part 2? Joe, can you put up part 2? I suspect maybe it's something that has been oxidized, but not sure. Stool saturation is excellent, so it's detox related. Curious if you know what the white rocks, calcium, and black flakes might be. Well, Well, I'm going to ask a gross question here, Will. Wait, let me see. Oh yeah, so that was I got that one. Will, have you played with your poop to see what those white things are? Are they rock-like? Or could they be organic? Most of the time people are just going to, and this is trying to be scientific, folks. Like, yeah, we're going to talk about, is Will playing with his poop? We talk about poop here because think about this, folks. If you know what you're putting in. Okay, Will says, I have indeed played with my poop. They are indeed rocks or rock-like. Okay. So if you don't look at your poop, at least, I'm not saying you have to go play with your poop, but in Will's case, I asked him about it. If you don't look at your poop and you don't look at your pee, but you really look at what you put in your body, you're missing half the equation of what's going on inside, because the black box theory, like I got my black shirt on, right? The black box theory says you have an input into the black box and you have an output in the black box. You may never know what's going on in the black box. And that's what most of conventional medicine is, because they don't know their ass from a hole in the ground about what actually goes on in the body, because they're trying to hide the toxicity from you. So you got this black box, you don't know what goes on in it. But if we put more vitamin A in, like the Cielo vitamin A, neurotoxicity and vitamin A study, where they say in well-nourished people like Westerners, basically increased vitamin A intake reduces quality of life and increases mortality. So they say when you eat enough food and you're not malnourished, remember, anybody who quotes vitamin A deficiency as like a thing will always talk about malnourished third world countries that eat almost no red meat. And they're like, oh, they're unhealthy. And I'm like, well, yeah, they're starving. Duh. So, but it said in well-nourished countries, the more vitamin A intake happens, lower quality of life, more death, sooner death. Wow. That's black box right there. More vitamin A in a well-nourished population, more sickness and disease out. Seems pretty simple to me. I don't need to argue about retinoid X receptors and retinoic acid receptors and and I don't need to argue about that, because that's all black box stuff. I only care about the output. A lot of people want mechanisms. Most of the time, mechanisms are just like mental masturbation. Sometimes you can use them, but most of the time they're just a waste of time. And they let people who think they're really smart try to sound like they're really smart, and they're not. Okay, so you're saying, so the black things you're saying seem flaky like a sheet. Okay. So, okay. First of all, I'm going to say without proper analysis, no, I'm kidding, like about, analyzing the stones, it was a joke, haha. Without proper analysis of the stones, we don't know what it is. Could it be calcium? Sure. I posted on Twitter the other day about how a paper showing that, for those of you who get into the biofilms thing, you're like, oh my God, biofilms. I showed that calcium carbonate is critical to biofilm formation. Weird. I constantly talk about reducing this excess calcium in the system, and biofilms need calcium to form. What it raises calcium in the blood and in the body? Vitamin D supplements. We don't take those. Vitamin A toxicity. We don't take those. Copper toxicity. We don't try to do that. Calcium supplements. We don't try to do that. And weird that we have these things that people thought were infections start to slowly resolve. And I don't treat biofilms. You following me here? You can starve the biofilms by not screwing up all your calcium metabolism. So anyway, let's say Will had some form of biofilms and he started starving them and the bacteria are dying, and then you got all this biofilm calcium nonsense, or it could just be calcium forming stones somewhere. I don't know. This is all just like me just throwing stuff out there. So don't think that anything I'm saying here is like, I mean, we don't even know what the stones are made of. If they do seem like stones and they're white, calcium would be my first guess. Okay. The black flaky stuff, I have no. Are you taking any charcoal, Will? That would be the first question. Let me get my chat up here. No charcoal. Okay, so have you taken charcoal in the past? In the recent past, month or 2 or 3? Yeah, that's the hope. That's what I'm asking. Cope was wondering, could it be residual activated charcoal that maybe got kind of stuck? Okay, so about 2 weeks ago. So I would say my first suspicion of the black stuff would be the activated charcoal. It could just be stuff that got stuck somewhere. So maybe when you changed your diet, all of a sudden things that were kind of like maybe stuck in some little crevices or whatever came out and somehow came together. And that would be my first suspicion. Could it be stuff that is like maybe stuck in the gallbladder? I don't know. Let me go do a quick search. Let me do something real quick here. Let's do. I'll share it in a second. I want real pictures. Okay, so let me share this one. Joe, you can share my screen when you're ready. Okay, so this is just all I did was a quick search for like gallstone and a gallstone cholelithiasis. Cola is gallbladder, lith is stone, assist is like there's a disease condition. So let me get back on this window. I can't stand it when they do these drawings. Like I want to see the stuff. So these are, let's just look at this one. So anyway, we've got these pictures, Will. So if anything looked kind of like this, we'll just go looking at some more. But I'm just kind of going, okay, folks, if you do that apples and apple juice and malic acid and olive oil and Epsom salt, like liver and gallbladder flush, what you crap out that floats is not a stone. Here's a tip. Stones don't float. So, Will, this may be looking a little more pigment stones. That might be looking a little more blackish. I mean, it is looking a bit more blackish to me. So could be, yeah, your white ones could be mixed stones. So we have two potential winner chicken dinners right here in terms of the appearance that I've heard described. Are you, Will, hold on, I'm going to sneeze. Will, are you feeling better? since that started. So since you started expelling that stuff, have you noticed improvements in how you feel? Let me get back to the chat so I can see it. Thank you. Okay, so Will says they are very pure white and the black is not in stone form. Will says he feels better with better sleep. So again, Will's pooping pearls. Yes, Will, if you're making pearls, I need to hire you so we can start a pearl pooping business. Oh, it's like the diamond industry, a bunch of garbage. So yeah, I can't say, Will. I don't know. But the key thing here would be, okay, so here's like detective work. So we're going to go over like what could be happening here and what would be the signs that this is a temporary cycle, or what would be the signs that this might be. Let's say, okay, first the suspicion would be maybe it's something in your diet. Like, who knows, if you were, I know you were using the dextrose powder and you were doing some other like tryptophan supplements and some other things that we don't always do on the program. So could those things somehow be congealing together in your system and forming these stones? Sure, why not? Could it be that? So if that was true and you continued to take these things, this is more of for the theory of it, folks, for like doing the detective work. If it was something you were eating and you kept eating it, the problem would continue going on, right? That makes sense. If it was something that was being cleaned out of you, at some point that should stop because the cleaning should be done. So Will's saying dextrose is relatively new, had the stones since the beginning. Black flakes may be something I'm taking. Yeah, so the way to know that, or the way we could investigate this would be, if what I would suggest you do, Will, is if and when you stop a supplement, or if you're eating a food often, if and when you stop the food, or if and when you stop the supplement, or if you just start noticing, hey, I don't see the black in my poop anymore, or I don't see the white stones in my poop anymore, then the immediate thing is, what have I changed? Look back at your diet. What have I changed? If nothing changed, then it could have just been a process finishing up. If, that would be one way to investigate it, would be to stop things that you might be taking and see if the issue goes away. Like for those of you who have you ever seen those people where they take like bentonite clay and they take like all these binders and then they pull these things out of the toilet that they're like, oh, these are like super long stringy parasites. No, it's not. That's the fiber that congealed in their gut. I could show you how to reproduce this. If I had the mixture of the powder, I could show you how to reproduce it in a cup with hot water and then cold water. I could show you how to make those parasites in a cup. It's propaganda. Those people who were showing, like, they pull them up with a chopstick and they take pictures of them, like, oh my God, look at this, all came out of my colon. No. You drank a fiber and bentonite clay drink that congealed in your intestines, and it's skinny because your intestines are skinny. And it just took on the shape of your intestines as this giant thing moved through your intestine and you pooped it out. And now you're taking pictures of the toilet with it in it. That's all. So anyway, wait, let me get back. I saw it. Joe, you posted Will's thing. Let me see. There was a period where I didn't have the stones. I believe that was the applesauce experimentation. Okay, well, so see, we've got some clues. This is what we do. This is why we are here on the Nutrition Detective channel, is because we are trying to figure all this stuff out, and we are trying to figure out the lies and the mystery of human nutrition. So, but yeah, so Will, it would really just be, like I saw Zendog Breath said, you could take that stone or whatever you think it is, take it to maybe a vet, tell them your dog this was in your dog's poop. Can you analyze it and see what it is? And they might do that. Like that was a pretty good idea, because they'll analyze things in vets, like in animals, that they'll, you know, you're as a human, you try to take it in and they'll be like, oh no, we're not, that's not anything. No big deal. It's like when I had a woman who was pregnant. If you guys don't know, like, copper ranges on blood tests, I mean, they go obscenely high as the normal. Like, I want people below a 90 on serum copper. This woman was way high out of range. She had 2 different tests when she was pregnant. She was pregnant 2 different times. And the first time she had the serum copper test, she was at 215. That is obscenely high. I thought it was lab error. Her midwife and her obstetrician just ignored it. They're like, that doesn't mean anything. And I'm like, and this woman was having a really rough pregnancy. And then, but I thought it could have been lab error. I was like, I have never seen anything like this high, except in a kid who has some metabolic problem. This kid I saw I was told his highest copper was 220 when he did a, what's the plasmapheresis, where they're basically trying to filter your plasma out of you because your blood is the toxic thing and they can see benefits from it. This kid's plasmapheresis bag was like the bluish color, bluish yellow of like copper, like oxidized copper. And then there's people out there who are like, copper toxicity doesn't exist. Okay, sure. You can just see it in this plasma. It's so strong. So anyway, this kid was like 220 on his highest copper. This woman was 215, and the doctor's just like, just ignore it. It doesn't mean anything. And I thought it was so high that it was lab error. So then she comes back during another pregnancy when we're doing our normal tests again. It was 195. It was better than it was before, but she's still super toxic in copper. And again, her midwife and her obstetrician were just like, it doesn't mean anything. Like, Joe, I started making my noises again. To ignore that. You know, you want to know what conventional medicine does when they run into something that they don't understand or they don't know how to fix or they don't have a drug for? They're just like, it doesn't mean anything. Just ignore it. Doesn't mean a thing. Do not look at the man behind the curtain. Right? There is no man behind the curtain. Don't go over there and open the curtain. You might find something. So anyway. But yeah, other than analyzing them, or analyzing them, whatever. We're not going to know what those are. But you're seeing that you may have connections to what you're eating. Could be fats, could be like old, nasty, hardened fats coming out. Who knows? I don't know. That's where the analysis would come in. But definitely watching your dietary changes and seeing if that can induce them or make them go away would be the way we'd want to go. So I think we're done for the day, folks. Unless did any super chats sneak in? I don't think so. Thank you all for the super chats. Hope you got the answers you wanted. And yeah, Will says, yeah, who knows what's in my liver? Been fat and sick since birth. Yeah, and Will actually has a very specific testimonial to when they moved into a house with full-on copper pipes. I remember Will saying that's when his family all started gaining weight. But copper toxicity doesn't exist, right? No, okay, totally. Anyway, so Vasil said, thank you for the live, Doc. It was a true pleasure to catch your first one. Well, glad to have you. Spread it to your friends, you know, and we will keep going, you know, 129 next week. We'll have a cool topic next week. I just wanted to do a Q&A. And I also didn't quite prepare a topic for today. So, you know, stuff happens. Anyway, hope you all have a great week. I will talk to you later. I'm about to go do my inner circle now because I'm way late for that. And have a good week.